welcome to the podcast. Thank you
Thank you for having me on.
for joining me. Yeah. Thank you for welcoming me to your community. Is it as simple as just getting people together who like doing what they do?
Um, Initially, I would say it probably comes. I think now it is. I think trail running at the minute is definitely a trend, and more people are moving towards trails than from roads. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
Yeah.
I think the great outdoors has a lot to what appeals to people. The beautiful countryside we've got all over the UK. Um, um, I think creates a space for people not just to go and run, but to clear the minds and everything in terms of the beautiful landscape, what surrounds us in this country. But yeah, totally agree with that. I think there's a lot more people now moving towards trail running, particularly who are joining the Peakies, who have said, I've run for quite a long period of time, but maybe just been on the roads as a lonely runner in some cases, and some in running groups. But like the thoughts of being out in, particularly, my favourite, the Peak District,
Mm.
for the great route views and routes out there.
Yes. I mean, we are very lucky in the Peak District. Well, I say we, I'm no longer we, but um, I still come down regularly, definitely. So what made you start it?
Um, I think the Peaky Runners, if I was to tell the story of how it sort of evolved, really, started with myself. Um, and if I can take you back to, you know um, probably the start, really.
Mhm.
But the Peaky Runners were probably formed out of what was going off in my life, really. Um, and like many people, sometimes tragedies happen in our lives, and you find yourself in a place of deciding which route you're going to go.
Mm.
Um, and prior to, obviously, this was back in 2018, the back end of the year when my dad passed away unexpectedly, and my dad lived in Spain, so it wasn't like he was round the corner.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a real tragic time for me at that point. And I think what followed into that, into 2019, was a year really for me of struggle, and trying to um, trying to find answers to a lot of things during that year, as people, when probably hit rock bottom, have to try and find something to work towards. Um, so yeah, so the starting point for me was, I guess, is that I was finding a bit of self 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 hope and self direction of where I needed to sort of point
Yeah.
myself to. Um, and I moving into what we know then was 2020, when COVID started, which was a massive impact to everybody in their lives.
Yeah.
So I just probably come out of 2019, obviously probably one of the hardest years of my life, really. And then we moved into 2020, um, when COVID started. And if I think about where that year started for everybody, and um, there was very little we could do and interact with people. So the only way of trying to find that release, etc., was getting outside.
Yeah.
And then I guess that was the start of running for me. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a late runner in life. Obviously, probably like a lot of people, went to the gym and etc. and did things to try and keep myself fit, but actually getting into running, that was the start. And I decided really to take on a challenge to try and give a bit back for the NHS.
Yeah.
And this was the start of one of the challenges I just created in my head of thinking, what could I do, which would stand out really, but would set myself challenges to help myself in my own challenges, but also help give back. And
Yeah.
that's when I decided to run virtually to London from where I'm based, obviously in Barnsley. So,
Okay.
which I think was 268 kilometres. And at a moment in time, obviously, I've never run really much before, and decided to take that on and did 10K roughly every day without failure. I think for 26 days, just slightly over. So,
Cool. Yeah.
um,
That's a big challenge if you're not a runner and you
yeah,
started. That's massive.
yeah, and I guess at that point, um, that was the start really of my point into running,
Mm.
and um, what I'll describe obviously later is you'll see how that sort of evolves into sort of when I describe sort of how Peaky Runners for me started and how it evolved. But I think it was important to sort of say to you that how to go back to the beginning,
Yes. Yeah.
uh, because I was never a runner. I was never a
Yeah.
runner. I never really went out to the trails and everything else. So I guess setting the scene for that is really is there was a start really which started really with probably tragedy and hurt, and it
Yeah.
was a way of finding my way back, and running was going to be part of that.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I mean, it so often is though, isn't it? It allows us space, I think, maybe to while we're running, our heads can go to wherever they need to go to think about things or to dwell over things, allow us to mourn even.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think you're right. And I think very much in the beginning, my running experience, probably like a lot of people, was a lonely runner. And was for that purpose is that I didn't really play much music, or I did play music. It was depending on what moods or thoughts I was in at that moment in time. Um, I didn't really set distances to myself. I just thought run till I feel I can run back. But very much on what you described there is that running was giving me a purpose. And getting outside was giving me a purpose. Um, and I guess what heightened that at that period of time as well, when I'm describing the COVID, is that I lost my uncle as well. Like, as many people obviously lost loved ones. Tragedy hit myself and my family, and we lost
Again, yeah.
my uncle, who was probably like a dad to me as well. And to lose two people who had a big influence on my life in such a short period of time, it really, really hit home.
Mm,
And I think running was one of the reasons why you keep going. I kept personally going, as well as my family, is that it gave me that release, and I wanted to turn that into a good thing. I think one obviously for fundraising for the NHS, which I did
yeah.
during that time, but then obviously as I'll describe later on in life is how I could share that probably tragedy and experience to give something back to others. Um, which ultimately was one of the reasons of Peaky Runners at the very
Yeah.
beginning. So
So did you run those 10K sort of on the streets around where you lived and
yeah,
did it alone?
so again, I was fortunate to where I live. It does have a good countryside, so I had probably quite a similar route every day. I tried to change it a little bit, but it worked in the 10K, so a big loop. But I guess that comes, for somebody who's never ran, but to and this time I was working as well. So obviously I work in retail. So at that moment in time, as you're aware, there was a lot going off for restrictions in stores and long hours and everything else. But
Yeah.
I had to find that grit and determination every day to make sure that I did that run. And
Mm,
and and it doesn't matter how I was feeling or anything else. The run had to happen. I remember some nights I had the head torch on, and I'm running around in the dark thinking, what am I doing? Some morning, well, the first thing in the morning, the 5 o'clock, getting up, then going to work. All the very
Yeah.
varieties in that week. Sorry, them 26 days it was of May. Um, Luckily, it was starting to get a bit lighter, but yeah, and the weather was kind to me. But yes, it very much was that.
Yeah. So what happened then? You did was that another fundraising run to France?
Yeah, and in the craziness of all this, I think at this point I'd raised £3,000, and I was on a bit of a roll in my head, and I think I just wanted to continue it. I wanted to continue the fundraising and the challenge for myself. So I decided, what else could you throw into this, and something which again never done before. I decided to set a challenge on getting to France, so to Calais, which was another 176 kilometres, I think it was, but involved swimming in the Channel. So I decided in that point that I needed to take up open water swimming. So you could do that, obviously during the restrictions,
Okay.
and that was my first experience of getting in a lake and swimming laps.
What
Which
lake is that?
it's a local to where I am. It's a boating stroke, so it is open water lake called Mambas in Waff. So it's just down here in
Yeah.
Waff.
Yeah.
But a good base, but probably that wasn't the only lake. Obviously, I tried it in, but it again set different boundaries for myself and
Mhm.
challenges. I was never the best swimmer. Let's not say that one. Never the best swimmer.
Yeah.
I was more probably breaststroke than crawl. So I was trying to adapt to that and not drown myself at the same time.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but it gave another sort of challenge to myself, of pushing the boundaries outside, um,
Hmm.
what I'd never done before. So yeah, completed that challenge, and set some new, um, probably, aspirations to myself, thinking, right, what I've just done that, what do I do next?
So
I,
sorry, let me just clarify. You then, so in your lake, you swam the distance
of the
of
channel.
the channel. So how far is that? 50 miles or something?
So it's just slightly less. I think it's about 40 something.
Yeah.
It's depending 45. I think I did it in, but it was it's depending the route you go across, because you could go the
Okay.
shortest route, to
I was
Calais,
going to
obviously.
say, surely you picked the shortest route.
So it was a lot,
That's a
and I
lot of
tried.
laps.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tried basing it on just over a mile every single time I went down in the morning. But obviously
Wow.
on that scale, I didn't set myself, when I'd done the 26 days of 10K runs. I didn't really set myself. This was just an add-on to say, right, I'm going to push myself to get to that point, and then the runs on top. So I'd get out of the lake and then start running, around the local area, the 10K every single time
Mm.
as well. So
Yeah.
it turned into a mile and 10K. So uh,
Yeah.
so um,
You're getting fit at this
I,
stage.
I was, yes. The definitely, couch to 5K was extended beyond the 5K at this point. But yeah, I think it gave me real purpose. I think that was the thing.
Yeah.
And um, from where I'd been in that last year to where, with
Mm.
everything going off, in the country at the time, um, it gave me a real sense of purpose and direction where I was heading towards. I didn't know what it were at that point, but all I knew is that, physical and, the mental release was helping me so much.
Mm.
I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's well known for doing that, isn't it? I mean, it is. I don't know if it refires something in the brain or if it's just gives us something else to think about and to plan.
Mm,
Whether it's the endorphins that just
a-
make us feel less bad.
absolutely. I mean, if it was to ask me, and this is different for everybody, but I think early mornings are definitely for your body. I think getting up in the morning and running before you've had breakfast and everything else. Um, but I tend to enjoy running in the evening. So
I
I
do actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, everyone will have their own, and I guess the lifestyle they live as well, but have their
Mm,
thoughts on it. But I think if you read all the relevant blogs, people say it's better to run on an empty stomach first thing in the morning if you want to burn calories, I guess. But
mm,
but if you don't, obviously run in the evening, obviously when you're built up, probably strength and enough energy in your body is probably better. But
yeah.
I definitely did both. So and I think one of the later challenges we'll come on to was very much a reflection of that, of testing my body at different elements of the day.
Mm.
Um, but which I don't know if that leads on nicely to really just to sort of discussing one of them is that um, I decided to take on the sort of David Goggins challenge, which probably a lot of people didn't know really at the time. And only really I saw that from, I guess, on social media. And I guess
What,
this is,
yes, what was that? I'm dimly aware of him.
yeah. So,
Um,
um, I mean, I guess in that the stage we're in the life now is I was at the point of right, what do I do next to push my body limits,
mm,
and things I'd probably never tried to achieve before. And one of the things which came up, and again, this is when I continued my fundraising, and I was fundraising for Mind. Um, Again, I wanted to sort of give back to sort of particularly mental health charities. And obviously, I thought of this challenge because it definitely was something which would not just test physically but mentally. So there was the David Goggin challenge, which he sort of started, which was basically running 4 miles every 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So
yes, I have heard of that.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
decided let's have a go at it. Now
Mm,
4 miles doesn't sound quite long, but when you put it in perspective, but necessarily wasn't 4 hours because you had to take into account how long that 4 hour run, 4 mile run were going to take you, and then the
mm,
clock started again. So you started at 8 in
mm.
the morning. I think then I ran at 12, then I run at 4, then I run at 8, then it was midnight, then it was 4 a.m., then it was
Oh,
8, and then it was
yeah.
and on and on. And
Wow.
I guess this was a really hard challenge from anything I'd ever done before because of the sleep deprivation. Because you
Yeah.
catnapped and slept, and then you got yourself back up, and it was
Yeah.
horrible weather at night time. It was raining, and many times I was getting up and thinking, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this?"
Yeah.
And then you hallucinate a little bit as well because you're lacking sleep deprivation on the next day. Um, but I guess that it's an important part probably of my running journey, this event, because it was the part of I guess really testing my mind. So it wasn't just about the physical running. It was
Mm,
about actually if you put your mind to something and we're really focused on it, you can achieve it. And it was the first time that I'd taken on a challenge where it wasn't just about running. It was about actually you had an option not to run
mm.
and say roll back over and go back to sleep, or get
Yeah.
up and run. And then the eating as well at the same time. What did you eat? Because obviously you got such a short period again from it all.
Mm,
Um, so probably the most at that moment in time, the 48 hours of absolutely stretching myself beyond my limits of anything I've ever done in my life to that point. But it was a great way again to raise fund for Mind as well, and again was the start of me fundraising for Mind as one of the
yeah.
charities of choice at that time.
Did you find I think people talk a lot about men finding it difficult to talk. Did you find it particularly hard going through that mourning period? Did you find it difficult to talk to people about it? Or did the running sort of help you with that?
Yeah, I think yeah, I probably did. I think, and it's only until you self-reflect. I mean, when I was going through the um, aftermath of my dad dying, I did have counselling. I never thought I would, but I was given that option, and I decided to go through it. And actually, the biggest thing I think counselling gives you is the ability to talk to people and to talk to
Mm.
people, which I never thought I would. And here I am now talking to yourself
Yeah.
on a podcast quite openly about everything and things which you never think you would actually ever talk about, but which in the end do just tie together in a bit of
Yes.
everything and forms probably everything, the DNA of yourselves, and because to get out of them that rut and that part of probably a slight depression and hurting and of where you are, you've got to find every part which has come apart. And
Mm.
and what that to sound to people is that you've got to talk about things which you probably thought you would never would, because you need to get that out. And probably realize how defenseless you are, or you feel you are at that moment in time, and not strong. Um, and I guess that's where running came in, and these challenges about building strength, not just physically but mentally, building up
Mm.
my inner strength of building myself back. From where I was on probably rock bottom.
Yeah. I think also the opposite is true. I think if you give voice to your feelings, you also find that nothing changes.
Mm,
That it's not unusual, it's not wrong, it's not bad. And actually just giving voice to that pain or that sorrow or that anger,
mm,
actually when the person you're talking to just sort of either agrees or just sort of gives something back, you then realize actually, yeah, what I'm going through is perfectly normal,
mm,
and it's okay to feel like this.
mm.
Um, there's so many aspects to it. As you say, you don't need to have someone telling you what you should be feeling or you should be doing this and that. It is just literally someone's shoulder to cry on, isn't it? The old adage.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it was exactly that.
Mm.
But I think everybody needs to go through that period to come out of it. And way I've sort of described this to other people is that everyone's different, and what will work for somebody will work completely different to everyone else. And what I
Yeah.
would say to people on here would not, I wouldn't say everyone needs to go running in the peaks and the trails, running trails, and everyone will find happiness in something which they
Mm.
may know or may not know, but they will.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was the first part for me is finding what was right for me, but I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was an interesting part, because I think it was only probably till over a year later that I actually looked back and actually thought about that at this moment in time, that everything I was going through, um, and talking and not talking, and taking myself out of it to go and run or to go for a walk, etc., was all building to something, um, which I didn't understand then, but
Mm.
I understand now. So,
What did your partner Rachel think of this new interest?
well, to be fair, I met Rachel, probably while I was afterwards I was running.
Ah,
So
okay.
so she wasn't really, she wasn't there when I was obviously going through probably all this
Okay.
part of it all, but
Okay.
it was probably, it was a it was a lonely journey on myself.
Yeah.
I split up from my son's mum during that time after COVID, and
Oh, that's
this
tough. Yeah.
yeah, and this. So I was on that journey of of running alone. I would guess at that point.
Mm. Mm.
COVID was just starting to relax, and obviously things have changed in my life, and this is where running really, really became, I guess, the DNA of my life at that moment in time,
Mm.
which led into 2021. Um, and I look at it and say this was the start of the new me. Um, that everything what happened to that point um, could happen to anybody, and as had happened to anybody. And I guess that was the period of my of grief and trying to deal with it in many different ways. And I guess coming into 2021 was the start of the new me. I guess
Okay.
the new brand, if you want to look at it. But the hope for the Tony, which is what I wanted to be.
Version two.
The version two, yes, absolutely. And it was the start of many challenges, and this was my dipping my toe into to trail running at this
Okay.
moment in time.
Yeah.
COVID restrictions were starting to sort of
Yeah.
ease a little bit. You could get out more, you could socialize a
Mm.
bit more with restrictions, and
You
this
you did your first trail marathon.
my
Was that
first
Trail Pursuit?
Yes, so that was So Trail Pursuit was a strange one because obviously restrictions were slightly still in space, so you
Mm.
actually camp, I think, at the time. Um, and yes, I was fortunate to take on my first trail marathon, which was up in Langdale in the Lake Districts. Beautiful place, and I guess this was my first experience really of understanding what trail running was all about. And I was a bit like the guy with all the kit and no idea. You think, right, this is what I need. This is what I'm going to need. And I ended up having this big rucksack at one point and started off with it. And it was a really hot day. Um, and you'll probably know this, but in my head, I don't know why I ever thought it at the time, but came to the first station. Um, I think it was about just under 12K into the run before we hit
Mm.
the mountains and going up. And I thought, oh, I'll be all right. And everything water, there'll be another station at some point up there. But clearly, as you know, there wasn't. And
Right.
it was self-sufficient. So
Okay.
I quickly ran out of water. As obviously I was probably taking too much on. And at one point, then I found myself drinking out of a stream, which I guess the water was running; it wasn't stagnant, and I
Yeah.
was at that point of taking the risk of survival because this was my first trail running marathon. I was in the middle of
Yeah.
the mountains; it was red hot, and I just remember that moment thinking, "I'm going to have to do something and drink." And I think, yeah, then finally came back down. There was a station at the bottom, but
Yeah.
it was a brilliant experience for every reason. To even think I was ever going to take that challenge on and run a marathon distance, but actually in the mountains.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'd never run a marathon in terms of road running back before. I'd done a beach marathon on one day. I'd gone and done some practice runs and stuff. But I got the bug, and I think that was it then. And
Yeah.
I was absolutely into it, Kate. Then, and I thought, this is it. This is the start. I found my purpose. I found what I want to do,
Yeah.
and this was the start really of my trail running journey.
Mm.
and as what will be then building up the trail running community from there. So it wasn't the first run, obviously, but it was the start, and it was the one I
Yeah.
probably remember the most. And then it was just a flurry then of different runs of how many I could sign up for, which would allow me to go and do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think a lot of people listening to this will absolutely relate to that. Yeah,
yeah,
you got the bug, as they sign up for every race going.
and you do.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
again, at that moment in time, again, I was very much a lone runner. I did meet some people, obviously, at the Trail Pursuit one,
Mm.
and people who are friends today and still part of the trail running community, obviously, which I run. But I was very much still in that moment in time on my own journey. Uh,
Mm.
and it was that thinking, right, what can I do next? What can I do next? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something which I think everyone can relate to.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So how did you sort of create, what did you do? What one day did you decide, oh, I'm going to invite some people on my next run? I mean, where do you take that first step?
Well, again, 2021 was me just completed into a lot of races and building friends up. The peak is actually officially didn't start till 2022. So in this year of building up of races, I was still probably on a lot of self challenges. One was the 100k race to the castle, Banbury Castle.
Mm.
But in each of these trail runs, and this is what's great about this community, and I used Instagram obviously a lot. One to sort of share my stories, but to build my network up, I guess at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess every time I attended a trail running event, I met new people. And the
Mm.
best thing about runners, right? I have never come across a bad runner. That's somebody who won't help somebody
Yeah.
else. And I think that's the best thing about running in anything I've ever seen. And I remember running the Lady Bower Marathon, and
Mm.
it's a great route for those who know the Peak District really well. And it's run by Peak Runners, not Peaky Runners, but it's run by Peak Runners.
Yeah.
David run it, and it's a route of Derwent Reservoir and goes up into the sort of backs. It's a lovely, great first trail marathon if anyone's never done that one. And I was fortunate to meet again more people who are now part of the Peaky Runners. And but the point I was trying to make is on that. I remember running with a guy called Rich, and we both were never met really before, still friends now. And Rich had a fall, just his legs just packed in, and we were at about only about 5k to go, like a bit of a spasm that had the legs. But for me, it was about getting him up
Mm.
and getting him to the end, which we
Yes.
both did together. And what I
Yeah.
would say to anybody in trail running is that, and it's probably one of the ethos things about of Peakies, which I'll come on to, is that no one's left behind.
Mm.
And there is this. It's all about for me this the team getting the self and team getting over the line. That nobody gets left behind. And in every race I've done, it's been about achieve probably accomplishing it and getting there, but it's about
Yeah.
getting others as well. And
Yeah.
because you're running for at least for 4.5 to 5 hours, probably more, you have to find the time. So you build up a lot of relationships and
Yes.
friendships along the way, and that's definitely something which I would say in all these runs I've done, I've met somebody who is now in the
Mm.
Peaky Runners
Mm.
because we built up a relationship from nothing, but from running together for that period of time.
I think it's a very special and unique bond that you make with someone, because you're both going through a challenge, aren't you? You're going through a hardship. And when you go through a hardship with someone, that creates a very unique bond, I think, and I think that's what makes the running community so special, because if you meet someone on a race, um, and you spend some time together on that or race trail, whatever, um, you're friends for life, pretty
Mhm.
much, and that's it. You've been together for 3 hours or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but
It's
yeah, it is. It's interesting. There should be some psychology looking into it because it's definitely a unique thing.
well, and that's it. For what could be such a lonely race, because you are out in the wilderness,
Mm,
in trail running, in most cases. Um, but in my experience, what I've always been able to run with people at least a proportion of the way, and then people
yeah,
have turned out to come be friends in the end.
yeah,
Um, and that is anyone who's listening of should I get into trail running? I would say absolutely, because it's a place of unity and a place where you'll find that people are the most supportive people you'll ever come across.
yeah,
Uh, uh,
yeah,
in it,
definitely.
in it. So yeah. So to your question of obviously how did it? It was a year of building up my own
Meeting people.
challenges, but meeting people throughout that year, and every race had a story to tell. Um, and a new person who I was able to call a friend. Uh,
Mm,
and if I sort of fast forward into 2022, um, we started. There was a start of races, but it started then where or our friends we met from races, we sort of had a WhatsApp group, and we decided to put, should we go for a run in the Peak Districts? And what came a small number of people. One of the most memorable first runs I think we did um, was up to Derntwood Edge, and I'd reached out to a number of people I'd sort of met and Instagram and said, right, let's all get together and do this run. And this was in, I think it was July time in 2022, and that was the start really. Everyone loved it. Everyone
yeah,
absolutely loved it.
yeah,
And but if you was to ask me, was my goal at the very beginning? It wasn't. It just naturally and organically grew. There was no forced. We're going to set up this great, you know, club. That wasn't nothing about it. This was about people just who love trail running,
mm,
passionate about getting outside and enjoying the Peak District, which is
yeah,
we're fortunate to have round us. Um, so that really was the start of the Peaky Runners,
yeah.
which didn't have the name then. So
No,
the name came later,
yeah,
um, but it does feel very relevant.
yeah, yeah. And I like the fact that sort of anyone can create a run and just say, "Hey, I'm doing this on Sunday. Who wants to join me?"
Yeah,
Um,
and that's it. So it's important what I would describe with the Peaky Runners. It's not a run club.
no,
It's a community to bring people together. Um, who have the same or like-minded with the same passion for running in the Peak District. And when we put social runs on, again, not putting them on every week, but putting it more on a period basis, so it gives people time to sort of make it. And because it's not a run club obviously would do that weekly, etc.
yeah,
But it makes it a bit more unique, I
or
think.
organic, isn't it?
Yeah, organic, and who knows where it'll go. Again, there is no pressure on this to make this community become something which it doesn't need to be. And that thing's great,
Mm,
and the experience in the group from elite runners who are a part of it to people coming wanting to get into trail running for the very first time. And if I look back and think, if I wish I had something like this myself when I was starting my journey, I guess that ticks the box of actually what I want to sort of
Mm,
achieve from it. It's about bringing people together who are like-minded, who love the Peak District, and I've never seen such a supportive group in what is now obviously. If you think 2022, we're in 2025, so it's 3 years now.
yeah.
Um, which obviously I've not described yet, but obviously my injury, has taken me out of actually being on the ground for the last 2 years. But the group has continued to evolve and grow through the great
Mm,
volunteering work of the people in it, who just take the lead up. And there's
yeah.
many to mention in that. Who have played a really active part from now the likes of Rich Gill and Rich Casebone and Natalie. There's lots of people who have taken on the challenge, and because of their same passion, which is great to hear. And then, like yourself, it was great to invite yourself along into the community, which it's just great to see people get the valuable advice and or experience from something they've done, which they can share to someone else.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's lovely. Do you I mean it I mean I haven't been on a run yet, but I mean in terms of the sort of the numbers that tend to turn up, do you tend to find that there's varying paces? Do you have different people leading different runs, or do you all stick together? I don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah, so I mean, it is capped on obviously how many people obviously we can obviously run with the relevant leaders, but it varies. Ultimately, safety is the first paramount in everything. We need to make sure that obviously the runs route is very well described. Obviously, where we're going, the right kit, etc. The leaders running it from the volunteers, but some of the depending on the location, I think comes down to it as well. So the variety of where people live and a part of Peak is, it will be people who may only can make once a year because they live in Cornwall, and we do have that to
Okay.
the
Yeah.
to the people. Well, actually, no, there's people actually who live in Holland I've seen as well. So the group's quite expanded, quite
Yeah.
nationally, but also into the world, I think.
Yeah.
But to people who live obviously in and out of the peaks, so whether the Manchester side, the Sheffield side, or the Macclesfield side, or Win
Mm,
Northern. So, but it all runs on obviously, our run leaders' availability, and one thing I would really like to encourage, if there are more run leaders out there who want to get involved with a community like this, then please reach out, because it's so valuable having people who can also give up their time as well to be
yeah.
able to support other people.
Yeah.
Because these runs wouldn't happen if it wasn't for them people. It would just be a running community chat,
Yeah.
which equal has a valuable. But in terms of the runs themselves, they are social pace. Average run is about 15K. As I said, no one is left behind.
Mm,
So as long as everyone who is running is comfortable with the route and distance, which is advertised obviously clear before,
mm,
um, and no medical obviously reasons for not, then the run is finished when it finishes with lots of
yeah.
stops, lots of refreshments, lots of stops, and
Mm,
lots of time to build friends and
yeah.
relationships of like I have in
Yeah.
running, which is what all a social run should be about. It's not about the fastest getting to the end; it's about everyone getting to the end together.
Yeah.
And and
I
and that
imagine it's also great for anyone who's visiting the area. They could perhaps join in and meet people and go for a run with a group of people that know exactly where they are.
exactly that. And for those who haven't been to the Peak District, I mean, my favourite obviously is around the centre of it. You've got Mantor and Castleton, the famous loop of that, which we are doing for our Halloween special, which is
Yes.
coming up on the 26th, in fancy dress. So if you see witches and gulls running around Castleton,
It
and
looks amazing. I have to say, I would 100% be there if it wasn't for the same weekend as the OMM.
I know, but honestly, it's
Yeah,
a
it
real
looks
fun
fantastic.
packed event,
Yeah.
with everyone really enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, you know, to the other sides where you've got Derwent Reservoir and up to
Mm,
Win Hill and
mm.
Bamber Edge. There's just, and that's just in the cluster centre part, which is the big
Yeah,
hiking areas. But
yeah.
there's so many different trails of the Peak District. Many I haven't still have explored, you know, which
Mm.
you know I hope to do.
Yeah. That
Um,
yeah, the south is often overlooked,
yes,
but it's one of my favorite bits. Actually, it's a bigger hiking than running area, I think.
yeah, yeah. Any particular ones in mind?
Um, well, I mean, I'm doing my ladies one from Hartington.
Yeah,
There's some lovely hills around there. You can go north. You've got Crome Hill, you've got Parkhouse Hill, which are quite famous. They look like
yeah,
dragons in the ground. Um, Further down, you've got Wetton Hill, Wolfscott. Yeah, it's so different, and I think that's something about the Peak District I've always loved is the variety between the dark north and the white south. Uh,
yeah,
but those deep cut dales with the rivers along the bottom are just so beautiful. Um, yeah, yeah, as you say, we're very privileged and lucky to have that. So yeah, so much variety to run around.
yeah. And I think you're right there. And I think that's one thing for people thinking, actually, well, it's the quite big mountains, but actually the Peak District is
Mm.
not. It's
No,
probably a real good start. You know, where the
yeah.
Lake Districts and you know and Wales and Scotland, if you go there, are really big, proper mountains.
Yes, yes,
Where the
yes.
more peaks is the more that we say here. Mantor's probably one of the sort of biggest one. I actually don't know which is the biggest one
Yeah.
of the peaks, but
Kinder. Kinder is
Kinder
yeah,
Scout, yeah,
yeah.
which is a great route as well. If you know the Kinder
Yeah, yeah.
waterfall, when there's enough water coming down it,
And the wind is going in the right direction.
if the wind's going in the right direction, yeah,
Yeah, Kinder Upfall.
that's it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it is, and I think that's very appealing to people.
yeah. Yes, it's a good introduction to not just trail but hill running. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, when if people are listening out there and thinking, well, I'm interested in trail running and I don't know where to start, then there is so many great communities out there. And I think this is the bet, going back to what I said before, is that there is no egos, I believe, in trail running, where
No.
you have to be in various different clubs, etc. What you'll find in trail running is that all our trail running communities work really well together.
Mm.
And I think, you know, if you're in a running club, you could still go and be in a trail running community.
Yeah.
Because what it all is about in the end is about running with
Mm.
like-minded people,
Yeah.
building relationships up with running. And I don't think there's nothing better
Yeah.
where you probably can't go and play for a different football club in the same season.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've got many friends who run different trail running communities, which we go out together and collab when we can, or they come and work run in our community and we're going to run the other
Yeah.
community. And I think it's fantastic because
Yes, because there's no competition. I think
no,
that's the sort of the key element, isn't there? There's
mm,
no competition between, well, it's not possible for a community to be in competition with another community, is it?
no, it isn't. And that's what the unique part of a community is versus a club. A
Mm,
difference to a club is that there is no competitions.
no.
It's all about just bringing people together,
Yeah.
you know, for the love of running,
Mm.
which is unfortunate. Hopefully, to get back to doing myself personally.
Well, I was going to say, let's finish up with your knee
Yeah.
because I feel you. This is, I think
Mm.
we've gone through a similar path here. So what happened with your knee?
Um, so as quick as I can try and describe it, I was just done Ultra X England, um, and I went for a hike on Snowdon just after that, and something wasn't right. And this is going back to 2022, so this is just as I was just starting to get the peakies into it all, and went to the doctors, did all the relevant things. Thought it was meniscus tear, so booked in for the operation. Had the meniscus tear repair work done. 9 weeks later, still wasn't right. We're doing physio and everything else.
Mm.
Still couldn't get out of that pain. So booked back in again, and then did some deeper investigation into it, and it turned out that I had early sign of arthritis in my sort of left knee. You know, basically all the cavity had sort of gone really,
Yeah.
bone to bone. So it was going to require some bigger piece of work, which I had to make a decision. Is that something which I wanted to do? Which I decided. So the following sort of year, in sort of, I just sort of decided that I needed this operation done, and I can describe it as my knee was sort of turned slightly to create the gap. Obviously, and was cut, was newborn, put into the sort of to create the sort of wedge with a metal plate over. And yeah, my sort of I had to learn to walk again, which because my foot shape had changed. Uh,
Really?
yeah, so the operation has been a success today. So I've just got to get my mind probably back in that right area of that. I've got a piece of metal down the left hand side on
Right.
my knee, which I don't believe has to stay in there. That's just a decision whether I need to take that out at some point through another operation.
Okay.
But the operation was a success in terms of it. But what it has done is it's made it that I've got to, and as much as it's only probably I think 3 millimeters that my foot shape changed. That
Yeah.
3 millimeters has been so different to be able to not
Oh,
necessarily
really?
not necessarily walk because my foot is so used to landing when it used to land, but now it obviously training it to land to something else. Walking was all right once I got into the habit of doing it and building my strength back up, but to run, I still find it a bit difficult. So I've still got quite a bit of work to do to sort of get that back up. But like we do as trail runners, we like to set ourselves challenges, and I've signed up to the Lakeland 50.
Oh,
So,
awesome. Okay.
so I've sort of set myself. So it's July next year.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to get through on the ballot. Probably six. It must be a sign. This is what I think that after 6 years of trying, I've got through on the ballot.
Absolutely. It
So,
must mean you're, yeah, definitely.
so the recovery starting now.
Okay.
But I guess my message to people on that is that, and this is the thing in any sport or just life, we get injuries. Um, and it did hurt me, if I'm honest, because I felt I'm just starting to get to where I wanted to be. Got
Mm.
running myself, got a great community. I wanted to get to UTMB. That was the goal where I was working towards for one of the races out there. Obviously, I got my stones and everything, so from all the
Mm.
races I've done,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen. The journey has been all about getting through this injury now. And I'm fortunate that again this community has stayed with me throughout the whole journey of me even me not running and me being able to give back and
Yeah.
help people with
Yeah.
their own trail running journeys. Um, and to see so many people succeed who had never run an ultra before and
Mm.
now are running them all the time. It's fantastic to see. So that's been my motivation is to see
Yeah.
others
Yes.
have progressing um, their own challenges and targets. So hopefully mine will come back now, and I can start getting back. I'm just slowly starting to get into 10Ks. I'm building back up, and the goal is that next year. And if it hopefully comes off, then I will hopefully have achieved something which I never thought I would do probably again, if I'm
Yeah.
honest, when I had that operation.
Yeah. I hear you. I do. Yeah, very similar. Um, yeah, bucket tear meniscus.
Yeah,
Mm. I think the only, yeah, it takes longer to recover than they say. I think mainly because of the stuff we want to do isn't really
mm.
when they think of running, they don't think of what we do running.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
But
Um, but yeah, it's just patience. I mean, yeah, I'm just at the stage now, and I probably started running consistently, sort of June, May, June time. And yeah, I'm only now just at the stage of being able to run sort of 5 miles
Mm.
without dying. Um, but yeah, it's going to take a long time, but yeah, it's there, as you say, it's a goal, and walking is fine too.
It is, and it is hard. Okay, it is. I sort of feel for you on that because actually, what you're saying is your head's where you want to be, but your body just is just not letting you.
Lagging
Uh,
behind somewhat.
yeah, and particularly when you've achieved everything you have, and even as thinking as peak. Well, actually, I was running 100K at one point. That
Yes.
or crawling the last 10 or 20K, but I
Doesn't
was
matter, does it? Yeah.
yeah, but and
Yeah, yeah.
now I'm struggling to get over 5K without puffing. It is, but
I think we mustn't, yeah, well, as everyone knows this, you mustn't compare yourself to
no,
a previous version, but just be thankful for what you can do,
mm,
and optimistic for what, for being able to grow and develop more, for sure. I did a 50K in August, and I just ran and walked the whole way
mm,
around. And it was fine, actually. I
mm,
just, you'll get there. Walking is, that's another great thing about trail running is
yeah.
walking is completely normal and fine. And yeah, you can just intersperse it and just gradually get stronger and stronger and walk less and less.
I think just on that, I think that's the number one question I always tend to get asked is, well, how do you run for all that 50K? And the relative it is, unless you're elite, but even elite have to stop. Is that you don't you
Yeah.
hike
Yeah,
you hike
absolutely.
you become a
Yeah.
great hiker
Yeah.
because you're up and down the mountains as much as you are running on the flats
Mm.
and that
Absolutely. Nobody runs. I mean, even I think I read somewhere that Tom Evans, his win, he put, is the training he did to hike well and strongly is he attributes that to such good training. And it isn't just about the run. Um,
No, it isn't. And it's everything else that comes with it, the elements of the weather, how your body's feeling at that moment in time with your food intakes and
yeah,
everything
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Um,
It's a all-encompassing challenge,
mm,
um, around your body in lots of different ways, isn't it?
yeah, and that's the great thing about it. And for me,
Mm,
for anybody wanting to think, well, actually, can I do this? Absolutely, you can,
mm.
because it has so many elements which people have so many different strengths in. Uh,
Yes,
than
yes,
just obviously thinking, oh, how am I going to run that distance?
yeah.
But it's not. It's everything building up to it, which is great. And there's a lot of advice out there. Uh,
Mm. Well, that's just
obviously,
it, isn't it? Because
yeah,
and that's where the community's strength lies, is that, you're not just running 15K, you're running with people who know the distance, know the terrain, can offer advice on gear, on training, on nutrition,
yeah,
on races, on places to go,
yeah.
um,
It's
physios, everything. It's
it's great. It's absolutely great. So I'm really looking forward to as I said, there's no pressure on any of this community. It's going to continue, hopefully, to organically grow with great people like yourself and others are joining it, and sharing your experience and advice and things to others who are open to have it and listen to it because that's wish what I had back then,
yeah,
and hopefully this is what the community hopefully will keep giving back. Um, as well as some fantastic social runs and beautiful views
experiences. Yeah.
and experiences. Coming up. But it's great to hear people like you said. I know you said about you not been to any yet, and there's probably quite a few who haven't. But then the number one I see then is then I see people like running events and say, "Oh look, I've met such and such from the Peakies," and it's like we've not been on a run yet, but we're together, and I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I love it because it's created somebody again who maybe not have run with somebody, but now they are.
It's
Uh,
connections, isn't it?
like connections, which is it's great. It's
Yeah.
absolutely great, honestly. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, my
So
pleasure. I wish you the very best, and I look forward to seeing it continuing to grow. And thank you for talking to me.
you too. I hope to see you soon. Yeah.
Definitely.